Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vijupad Paramahamsa Bhakacharya Ashtotara Sata Sri Srimad His Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vijupad Paramahamsa Bhakacharya Ashtotara Sata Sri Srimad His Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जय। श्री श्री गौनिताई की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ सुभद्रा बलदेव की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदी all glories to the Sambhavatis, all glories to the Sambhavatis, all glories to the Sambhavatis, all glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvesesha Sunnavadi Pastyata Devatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first Skanda, 17th chapter, sloka number 25. Amusham Chutparitanam Artanam Paridevitam Samavishyami Samayishyami Madbanahi bhinnāyās tava medasa amusham kshutparitanam artanam paridevitam samayishyami madbanahi bhinnāyās tava medasa amusham kshutparitanam artanam paridevitam samayishyami madbanahi bhinnāyās tava medas, amusham chutparitānam, artānam paridevitam, samaishyami madbānahi, bhinnāyās tava medas. Vaishnavis, amusham, of all of them, chutparitānam, suffering from hunger, artānam, of the distressed. Sri Sri Gauranitai ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev ki jai. Paridevitam, the lamentation, samaishyami, I shall pacify, madbānahi, by my arrows, bhinnāyās, being cut to pieces, tava, of you, medas, by the flesh. Translation. Now with the help of my arrows, I shall cut you to pieces, and with your flesh satisfy the hunger-stricken citizens who are now crying for want of grains. Thus I shall satisfy the crying citizens of my kingdom. Please repeat. Now with the help of my arrows, I shall cut you to pieces, and with your flesh satisfy the hunger-stricken citizens who are now crying for want of grains. Thus I shall satisfy the crying citizens of my kingdom. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Here we find some indication of how the government can arrange for the eating of cow flesh. It is here indicated that in a rare circumstance, when there is no supply of grains, the government may sanction the eating of meat. However, when there is sufficient food, the government should not allow the eating of cow's flesh just to satisfy the fastidious tongue. In other words, in rare circumstances, when people are suffering for want of grains, meat eating or flesh eating can be allowed, but not otherwise. The maintenance of slaughterhouses for the satisfaction of the tongue and the killing of animals unnecessarily should never be sanctioned by the government. As described in the previous verse, cows and other animals should be given sufficient grass to eat. If, despite a sufficient supply of grass, a cow does not supply milk, and if there is an acute shortage of food, the dried-up cow may be utilized to feed the hungry masses of people. According to the law of necessity, first of all, human society must try to produce food grains and vegetables. But if they fail in this, they can indulge in flesh eating. Otherwise, not. as human society is presently structured, there is sufficient production of grains all over the world. Therefore, the opening of slaughterhouses cannot be supported. In some nations, there is so much surplus grain that sometimes extra grain is thrown into the sea, and sometimes the government forbids further production of grain. The conclusion is that the earth produces sufficient grain to feed the entire population, but the distribution of this grain is restricted due to trade regulations and a desire for profit. Consequently, in some places there is scarcity of grain, and in others profuse production. If there were one government on the surface of the earth to handle the distribution of grain, there would be no question of scarcity, no necessity to open slaughterhouses, and no need to present false theories about overpopulation. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakam Vitansya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Prithu Maharaj is speaking to the Earth planet, who has taken the guise of a cow. And the cow is running everywhere and is being pursued by Prithu Maharaj, who is very angry. The chapter title is Maharaj Prithu becomes angry at the earth. So generally, anger is not a proper feeling for a good soul. Souls in the mode of goodness, they don't get angry. But sometimes, if there is blasphemy of the Lord or blasphemy of the Vaishnava, then a good soul also can become angry, and he must become angry. Nobody should tolerate blasphemy of the Supreme Lord or his devotees. So here, Maharaj Prithu is an incarnation of Lord Krishna, and he is not supposed to be angry because that is supposed to be a negative feeling or tamasic consciousness. But in this circumstance, it is not. Anger sometimes is necessary. And here's an example of how anger can be utilized in devotional service. Maharaj Prithu is chastising the Earth planet. Although she has taken the shape of a cow in order to escape the chastisement, and a cow is also a woman, a gender, so a woman not supposed to be chastised. When I first came in the presence of the devotees of the Lord in Bihar, I was traveling, and Tamal Krishna Goswami had taken some of his associates, disciples, to have a program in a fair. It was a religious fair. So many different groups, spiritual groups had come, and Iskcon also was present there at that time in a small village. So for the first time then, I had a conversation with Tamal Krishna Goswami. So the first instruction that Tamal Krishna Goswami told me is that, you see, these women, they are just like children. The women, Kausalya Devi, Madri Devi, they were leading the kirtan. So I was attracted. I was thinking, oh, this is very beautiful music. Kausalya was playing mridanga very nicely and singing, very expert singer. Later on, when she went to France, she also recorded the album with the help of other disciples. That album became famous. So anyway, Tamal Krishna Goswami said, you see, these ladies, women, they are not intelligent, and you should not feel attraction for them. They are just like children, 12 years old, and so they need not attract you like this. So that was the first instruction I received when I joined Iskcon. I mean, at that time even I had not joined. I joined afterwards. So that was the first conversation. Tamal Krishna Goswami ki jai. Ritu Maharaj is angry at the earth. Why? Because the earth is a living being. She is a demigoddess, just like there are many other demigods. 33 crores of demigods are there. We do not see them. They are not coming also nowadays. And they are in their own kingdoms. So we have no idea what's happening upstairs. But they are there, and they are controlling the different elements of the creation under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. So they are supposed to fulfill their duties to supply all the necessities of life for the living beings who are in this material world. And as far as human beings are concerned, Annat Bhavanti Bhutani, Lord Krishna says, we live by eating anna, food grains. So food grains is an essential item, and the demigods such as Varuna, Indra, and others, they are supposed to supply sufficient rain, and so that the rain will enter into the earth, the seeds will fructify by the addition of water, and then food grains will be able to grow. And that will be for the sustenance of human beings, not only human beings, animals also, and other living entities will also benefit. Otherwise, we cannot live. And if there is no life, then where is the necessity of creating a universe if life cannot be sustained? So sustenance of life is compulsory. It is a duty of the demigods to see that there is sufficient food and other necessities for the life of the living beings. And by sustaining ourselves under the direction of demigods and the Supreme Lord, then we can also fulfill our duties and become elevated, and eventually, by dint of devotion to the Lord, we can also be freed from material existence. Otherwise, it's simply dukhalayamasa swatam. The material world has been guaranteed to be a place of misery, and we may think that we can adjust ourselves. Okay, suffering is there, we can adjust. No, there is no time to adjust because it is temporary. Anytime you can live. You will have to go. So where is the question of adjustment? So that is the condition of the material world, but the Earth planet is also one of the suppliers, very important, and our duty is to supply food grains with the cooperation of other demigods. So she is here, Ritu Maharaj is uh, condemning the Earth planet because the Earth planet is not supplying food grains. There is sufficient seed, but Earth planet has kept the seed under her body and not making them available for growing food. Lord Brahma, at the beginning, has created also all the seeds of the different plants and trees, flowers, and other food grains. So that is from the very beginning of creation. The seeds are available and water is there available. So from beginning, this production has been going on, but now the circumstance is that food grains are not available and everybody is lamenting. Amusham kshut paritanam. Everybody is suffering from hunger. The earth is not supplying. Artanam paridevitam. Everybody is lamenting the distressed condition, cannot maintain their body. So what can they do? They cannot, human beings and others, they are depending upon the supply of food grains. They cannot manufacture. Even now today, the science has made great progress in the field of material science, but they cannot manufacture one single grain of rice. We have never heard that the scientists have manufactured one grain of rice. Although it may be in their project, maybe they have the intention, sometimes the scarcity of food grains, rice is not available. But to the best of their ability, even in the best laboratories in the world, they cannot manufacture artificial food grains, one single grain of rice. They cannot do that. That takes Lord Brahma under the direction of Lord Vishnu at the very beginning. So the real science is not now. It is there from the beginning. We are speaking of evolution from lower beings, lower intelligence to higher intelligence. By gradual evolution, by the force of nature, gradually the living entities progress from one status to a higher status. In this way, we have been taught in the schools that we have evolved from monkeys, monkeys have evolved from reptiles, reptiles from fish, and so on. But actually, the whole world is working on the process of devolution. Devolution. The highest intelligence is at the beginning. For the sake of creation, all the necessities. And now we have come down to this level. And we are very proud of our advancement of civilization. We do not consider the highest civilization at the beginning. Even in the meantime, very great civilizations were there. But we do not consider this. We think that we are very great at the present moment. So that is the problem with the modern society. They will not be interested to read this transcendental literature because they think that we have our science books. So the children should go to school to learn evolution and the Big Bang theory and so on. In this way, they'll be properly educated and they can pursue their life goals. So we hear that the Earth planet is not producing food grain, therefore Ritu Maharaj is very angry. And although the Earth planet is eating sufficient grass every day, green grass, therefore there should be sufficient supply of milk. If she is a cow, naturally, by eating green grass, the cow is producing milk. So sometimes we give this example about talking of evolution and laws of nature according to modern science. Here we see two animals, one cow and one bull. They are the same species, but they have different behavior. The cow is eating grass and producing milk. The bull is also eating grass. The bull is not producing milk. Where is the answer for the scientists, modern day scientists? Is there any answer to that? The same animal, same species. Why the bull is not producing milk? They have no answer. Because that is the arrangement of superior authority. So here is an example of a disturbance in the world order. The world is under the jurisdiction of the demigods, and here one Earth planet, one demigod, Bhumi Devi, she is not fulfilling her duty. And Prithu Maharaj, the incarnation of Godhead, is looking after the welfare of his citizens. And certainly his duty now is to chastise. As a Kshatriya, perfect Kshatriya, his duty is to chastise the Earth planet who is not fulfilling her duty. And to the extent that Prithu Maharaj is ready now to kill the Earth planet and to cut into pieces and to distribute the body, flesh to the citizens so that they can continue their life. They'll be relieved from their hunger. To that extent, Prithu Maharaj is threatening the Earth planet. I do not know whether Prithu Maharaj is really intending to do so, but the threat is there. And the Earth planet is considering this is a very serious threat. Prithu Maharaj is not ordinary. I cannot, he is not equal to me. He is superior to me. So the duty of Earth planet now is simply to surrender and to accept the instruction of King Prithu, and she will have to follow that. Otherwise, she will be always under the threat of being killed. So the chastisement is one of the important activities of the leaders of society. If the government is weak, then rogues and thieves will prosper. They will have a free move. They'll be able to do whatever they want. People will not follow any proper discipline if the government is not able to impose discipline. So a perfect leader of society, if somebody who is not only perfect in his own behavior and his knowledge, and he has compassion, he is merciful at the same time, under certain circumstances, he can also exhibit anger and chastisement, very strict. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is worshipable by the entire society because Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Tvishenama. Because he is freely giving love of Godhead, which nobody earlier had ever given to mankind. So many conditions may be there. but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is freely distributing love of Godhead. But in the life of Lord Chaitanya, at some times, he was also exhibiting some other type of pastime, chastisement pastime. The famous example is that of Chota Haridas, who, being a close associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, was certainly very exalted personality, a pure devotee of the Lord. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at one time asked Chota Haridas to go and beg for some rice for cooking. And Chota Haridas went under the instruction of the Lord. But he came to a house, and apparently he became somewhat attracted to one of the ladies of the house. That also, she was not ordinary lady. She was also a great devotee of the Lord. But when the rice was brought back to Lord Chaitanya, then it was cooked, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started, but he was a little suspicious, and he asked from Chota Haridas about how he could get this type of rice. So Chota Haridas mentioned the episode, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very upset. And as Lord Chota Haridas was having sannyas, he was living like a sannyasi in the company of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dismissed him and chastising him. You have broken the vow of sannyas, and this way you are not fit to be in my company. So Chota Haridas understood the chastisement and went to Triveni Sangam and drowned himself in the water, Yamuna, Saraswati, Ganga, in this way. Then he came back later on as a ghost, a subtle body, and he was at that time also participating in the kirtan from above, unseen from others. But chastisement is there. Even the spiritual master is also chastising. Many times, Srila Prabhupada chastised his disciples. And if the disciple is really serious about progressing in devotional service, even though he has made a mistake, but he will take the chastisement in a positive manner, and he will remember throughout his life, my Guru Maharaj chastised me, and because I was not doing this properly. So in this way, chastisement is positive in our spiritual life. Sometimes it may be said that we should aspire to be chastised. Of course, we are very much afraid of this also, but it may happen by the grace of Lord Krishna. So here is an example. The Earth planet will never forget this chastisement. That is for our own benefit. Why do we have duties in life? We have to pursue our life, fulfilling our duties given by superior authorities. This is for our own benefit. If we don't have any duty to perform, then we shall simply think of sense gratification. Our life will be simply in order to fulfill our selfish desires. If we fix our mind on the duties assigned by the spiritual master or by higher authority, then we'll be able to control our mind and senses and be elevated to a higher spiritual position and ultimately become eligible for liberation or becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. So sadhana is a necessary and sadhana must be conducted under the order of the spiritual master, not whimsically, independently. So there is no question of independence. Only Lord Vishnu is Swatantra, and everybody else, everything else is Paratantra. That was Sankhyānam, the book written by Srimad Madhvacharya. It has two parts, two chapters. First chapter is Swatantra. Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna is Swatantra, completely independent. And the second chapter is devoted to Paratantra. Everything else, everybody else is dependent. Dependent on what? Dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. So everybody is dependent. Nobody is having independence. We think that we have independence and we celebrate independence. All the different countries of the world, they celebrate their own independence. And everybody within the country, they are also thinking that in the future, I'll become independent. Now I have to study, I have to be in the family, but within a few years, I'll be independent and I can do whatever I like. I'll be successful in my life. Even though death will come at any time, but in illusion, we are thinking like this. So the Earth planet is certainly not independent. Here she can realize, I have to fulfill my duty under the direction of superior authority. And I cannot declare independence. I cannot avoid my duties. So that is the condition of even the great demigods. Indra, Lord Brahma himself, was bewildered. In the 5th chapter of the Dasima Skanda Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear about Lord Brahma's bewilderment because coming in front of Lord Krishna, he could not understand what's happening. He could not show his opulence in front of Lord Krishna. He was defeated by greater opulence. The mystic yoga of Lord Krishna was greater than the mystic yoga of Lord Brahma. So if Lord Brahma has no independence, what to speak of the tiny creatures of this world? Certainly not. So we have to be very self-controlled. We have to ask question, what is my duty in life? How to fulfill my duty? What should I do to progress in life? Fulfilling my duties. How to avoid the desire for sense gratification? How to become disciplined? These are the questions. These questions and these answers are not part of the school curriculums. Nowhere. Only the spiritual societies, Iskcon, for example, under the guidance of a pure devotee, under the disciplic succession, have the answers to these questions. So we should approach the proper channel and ask these questions. Then our life will take a new turn. Just like the Earth planet, her life will now take a new turn under this chastising power of King Prithu, superior authority. Similarly, we should put ourselves also under superior authority and being chastised. That is very good if we can make progress in life in this manner. So, Srila Prabhupada in the purport emphasizes that even though King Prithu, playing the role of the perfect leader, is ready to kill a cow we should not take this as a permission, as an example that the cow can be killed and be eaten. Opening slaughterhouses cannot be opened under this plea that if Prithu Maharaj is ready to kill a cow and give the cow flesh to the citizens, so why we cannot follow in the footsteps of Prithu Maharaj, and the government may sanction in this way slaughterhouses indiscriminately? No. The point is, if there is scarcity of food grains, nothing to eat, then at that time, animals may be killed and eaten. That is a very rare occurrence. Sometimes it may happen just like you go to North Pole, South Pole, there is no vegetation. So some people are living there. And what do they eat? Maybe some fish may be available if they have to cut the ice and fish. Or maybe some polar bear may be available and they kill the bear and eat the flesh of the bear. So that is very distressing condition. The Prabhupada mentioned sometime these cold countries. He was mentioning Scandinavia. Scandinavia are not poor countries. They are very rich. But Prabhupada mentioned there the climate is very cold, especially in winter, -20, -30. So these countries are not fit for, gentlemen. Pious people will not live there. These are not suitable countries for pious people. So what to speak of North Pole, South Pole? Some tribes are staying there in Greenland and other places. What can they eat? They can eat only animals. And that is just to survive. They cannot do anything else. So that should not be the condition of the human beings. And that is very rare occurrence. Prabhupada mentions in the purport that if there is sufficient food grains, there is no question of slaughterhouse, no question of animal killing. Let the animals live and let them eat as much as they want. We should not restrict the animal food. Let them live. Live and let live. This is a slogan that can be adopted in this manner. Live and let live. Do not kill anyone for eating the flesh. That should be the motto of all the governments of the world, because there is no scarcity of food grains, generally speaking. So when Srila Prabhupada went to meet Indira Gandhi, for instance, there were proposals, and that was one of the proposals. Cow slaughter should be banned. That is very important. Cow occupies a very special place. The cow becomes a human being in the next life. So practically speaking, the cow is also a human being on the level of pious human being in the mode of goodness. How can a cow be killed? In that way, then you can kill your own children and eat. And that is happening. Many years ago, we came to know that from Switzerland, there were lorries going to the Atlantic Ocean and going by ship to America. So the government became a little inquisitive. What are these lorries? What do they contain? And government were inquiring about these lorries. They were astonished when they found out that the lorries were full of fetuses, human fetuses. Switzerland at that time had given permission for abortions. Other countries, abortions were banned, especially in France and other countries, adjoining countries. Only Switzerland was allowing abortions. And they were very doing business, taking fetus and exporting to America for people to eat there. That is a fact. I don't know if it is still going on, but it was there some years ago. And anyway, so this is very abominable. Only the demons can do that, and they are condemned to hell. Civilized human beings should never think of this type of behavior. So Srila Prabhupada is very strong in the purport that there should not be any question of a flesh eating. It is only in extraordinary circumstance when there is no food grains. And Prabhupada mentions also that the government, including now also American government, has sometimes throwing food grains in the ocean so that the prices will go up. There will not be any surplus. When there is surplus, price is going down. And the economy, they are thinking, economy also will go down. They don't want to distribute freely. They could go and to Africa and other poor countries and distribute freely. Instead of that, they allow food grains to be thrown in the ocean to keep up the prices. That is going on. I don't know if it is still going on now, but at some time it was there, and Prabhupada was a witness to this. So all the activities in this way should be properly controlled. Those who are under discipline, including disciples of spiritual master, they should follow their own sadhana very carefully. Otherwise, they can be chastised for their benefit. Any other questions or comments? Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.